The Miami Dolphins conclude their NFL preseason later tonight against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And on this morning edition of Dolphins Today, I am looking at 5 players that must ball out in this final preseason game to potentially cement themselves to this Dolphins 53-man roster or play themselves on to the Dolphins 53-man roster. And before we get into all of that, I want to remind people that here at Dolphins Today by Chat Sports, we will be live on the channel for the final preseason game. I'm Nic Rohloff. We'll be live with Jeffrey Cooperstein. This is our thumbnail preseason finale. Games at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so we'll be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be a ton of fun. We've had 2 great watch parties to start the preseason. We'll round it out tonight, and then we'll start looking forward to week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts. But the number one player that must ball out for the Dolphins without hesitation, without question, is third-year corner Cam Smith. He is firmly on the roster bubble. He got very, very lucky, and I hate to use this phrasing, that Ethan Bonner got hurt. Because if Bonner does not hurt his hamstring, which cost him multiple weeks and potentially the start of the season, I would have Cam Smith on the outside looking in of the Dolphins' top 6 corners, because I do project Miami to make this cut down list to 6 corners. I think Duck, Sheffield, Hilton, Jones, and Jason Marshall Jr. are all locks, and with Bonner being hurt, Cam Smith could be that next guy up. And we'll be honest, though, he played really good against Detroit. Had an 81.1 grade, 75.6 coverage grade. He was targeted twice, didn't allow a reception, and a QB rating when targeted of 39.6 in those 34 snaps in the second half against the Lions. If Cam Smith puts together another really strong performance against the Jaguars, then we might be talking about him sneaking his way onto the 53-man roster. I think he's probably on the in right now because of Bonner's injury, but if he plays well and has a good week of practice this week, well, then he's probably going to be in. But it remains to be seen. Predict it for me. Will Cam Smith make the Dolphins 53-man roster when it's officially announced this upcoming Tuesday? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Number 2 on my list, it's going to be edge Grayson Murphy, the second-year UDFA out of UCLA. He has been flat-out phenomenal all summer long, whether it has been the OTA portion, the mini camp, the training camp, joint practices, and in the preseason games, he has turned it up another notch. In the first 2 preseason games for Miami, out of the qualified edge rushers that have played at least 30 snaps, there's 71 of them, he ranks top 5 in every statistic on screen. Pass rush grade, pressures, sacks, pass rush win rate, and QB hits. And I know it's against third stringers and second stringers, but a 24% pass rush win rate would have been, I believe, the best in football last season if that was what it was for an entire 18-week year. I mean, Chop Robinson had a 23% win rate last season from weeks 8 to 18, and he was top 5 in that metric. As we currently look at the Dolphins pass rush and edge rushers, he's currently my 5th edge. You're going to have Chop, you're going to have Chubb, you're going to have Jalen Phillips, you're going to have Judon, and then I put Grayson Murphy as that 5th guy. I've got him above Mohamed Kamara. I've got him above Quentin Bell. I've got him above Derek McClendon. Now, that remains to be seen how the Dolphins view it, but that's what I think. And even though I don't think he needs to play his way onto the roster, a strong performance from Murphy in the final preseason game for the 3rd straight week against the Jaguars would cement himself onto the 53-man roster as that 5th edge. Number 3 is the UDFA wide receiver out of Missouri, Theo Wease Jr. This is a guy that has been making a lot of plays all camp long. He has a great rapport with rookie QB Quinn Ewers, and he finally put it together in the preseason game against the Detroit Lions. And if we're going to be frank and look at this wide receiver room, it is Theo Wease Jr. versus Taj Washington for that final spot. I think Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Westbrook-Ikini and Malik Washington are locks. I even am starting to put D. Eskridge as a lock as wide receiver 5. But when you look at what Washington and Wease Jr. have done this preseason, the stats are eerily similar, man. They have given more opportunities to Wease Jr. He's played more in the second half, more with the third stringers. Washington more with the second stringers. But he's been targeted 12 times compared to Taj's 9. He has the same amount of catches as the Washington. They have the same yards. He has 2 more touchdowns. And sorry, folks. I got a funny graphic coming up next. That's why I got caught laughing. And they have the same yards per catch as well. So when you think about these two, I can't believe Coop did this. Peer behind the curtains. I never use the pictures of myself on these graphics. Coop is just throwing a little curveball at me. I wasn't ready for the curveball. Got to be ready for the curveball. Good movie, by the way. Either way, though, when I think about this wide receiver room, I think Taj Washington has the edge, which is why I think Theo Wease needs to have a big game. Because when you think of the two, and I just mentioned this, Wease Jr. has been working primarily with Quinn Ewers, and their connection is very strong. Washington has been working with Ewers, Tua, Wilson. Like, there's more flexibility there. But if you want to go back to the debate, Theo Wease Jr. is 6'2", 210. Washington's 5'10", 175. So different styled wide receivers. And Miami already has a bunch of smaller wide receivers around their roster with Eskridge, Malik Washington, and Tyreek Hill. So it's tough to balance, but you probably can't keep both. So it's a tough call, which is why I think Theo Wease Jr. needs to have an unbelievably strong third preseason game to make the Dolphins' 53-man roster. Well, folks, life can come at you fast. And with Ethos, they will have you covered. And when you lose someone close to you, you can't help but think about the future. With life insurance through Ethos, your family is protected. Life insurance is a perfect way to make sure you're covered. It can help pay the mortgage or your kids' college tuition. Right now, you can get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. Life insurance is more affordable than you think. With Ethos, you can get a free quote and customize a rate that fits your budget. Process is 100% online with no medical exam required. Just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That is ethos.com/NFL Daily. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Number 4 on my players that need the ball out list is 7th round pick out of Georgia Tech, Zeek Biggers. Because 7th rounders are not guaranteed to make the 53-man roster by any stretch of the imagination. Just because you're drafted doesn't mean you're going to make it. Now, the other 7th round pick Miami had, Quinn Ewers, will be making the roster. But this 7th rounder might be on the outs. And it's just tough to really project where Miami goes with their defensive line room. You have Zach Sealer. You have Jordan Phillips, Benito Jones, Kenneth Grant. Well, where does Miami keep 5? Do they keep 5? Because those are going to be your top 4. If they keep 5 interior defensive linemen, it's going to be hard to not keep a guy like Matthew Butler, who's been really good, or Matthew Dickerson. Like, these guys have been really good. So how can the 7th rounder prove that he should be kept? He had a solid week 1 against Chicago, and I thought he was solid in week 2 against Detroit. I think PFF did him a little bit dirty with their grading system. The point is, if he doesn't play out of his mind, he's probably out of this roster. Now, it would be a player and situation where Miami tries to keep him on the practice squad because they clearly drafted and value him. But I just would doubt that he makes the 53-man unless he comes out and has, like, the most disruptive game of all time, has a couple sacks. Like, I just don't forecast him being able to make the roster. I mentioned it. Butler is higher on the depth chart. Matthew Dickerson is higher on the depth chart. Biggers is certainly higher than a Ben Still or Alex Huntley. But I think he's, like, at that 6 or 7 range at best in terms of interior defensive linemen. And Miami is just not going 6 deep at defensive linemen. I think at most they would go 5. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Make sure you are subscribed. As we said earlier in the show, we will be live on the channel for the final Dolphins preseason game, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. Me and Jeffrey Cooperstein are going to be having a lot of fun breaking down the final preseason action, and then it'll be on to the regular season. Subscribe and join us later tonight. The final player that must ball out for Miami is offensive tackle, offensive lineman, Keon Smith. It has been a rocky preseason for Smith so far after what has been interesting because he was reported as having a strong training camp. But against the Bears, he was the worst offensive lineman that I have ever seen with my own 2 eyes. It is very difficult, folks, to have that low of grades by PFF. I make the point that I think you should be able to at least get a 1 grade just for showing up to the game. He allowed 2 sacks, 7 pressures, and in result, the Dolphins put him out there for every offensive snap in the second preseason game against Detroit, where he was a little bit better, but it's not like he's a roster shoo-in. He's been horrible. And that kind of just goes back to the point of that this Dolphins depth at offensive line is just not very good. Like, Austin Jackson is hurt, but he should be ready for week 1. The rest of this O-line is healthy. Eichenberg is not going to start the year with the roster. He'll probably start on the PUP list. Andrew Meyer's banged up. And when you get down to the bench, like, who do you trust on this Dolphins bench depth? Borum stinks. Brunskill is your backup interior guy. Like, Ryan Hayes? Like, what? Like, the offensive line depth that Miami has is absolutely horrific. I feel as if Miami is going to be scouring the roster cutdown list for potential offensive linemen to add to their roster as depth. I would expect Miami to be one of the most active teams in the National Football League between roster cutdown day and the next day of waivers. They'll probably try to claim an offensive lineman. They'll probably try to claim a corner to add to this roster because other teams have more depth that they have to shed. Final update and warning that we will be live later today. Remember, this is the thumbnail, live 1 hour before the finale. Join us for the final preseason game, and then we'll be on to the regular season. So hopefully I see you there, folks. Nic Rohloff, Jeffrey Cooperstein. It's going to be a lot of fun. Subscribe and join us.